She came halfway across the universe in search of a cosmic power source that could save her world from destruction.
Who is she?
Who on earth are you?
You know, I think I recognize the costume.
From the producers of Superman, Alexander Salkind presents Supergirl in her first great adventure.
Wait a minute, wait 1 minute. I mean, you can do the whole number, leap tall buildings at a single bound. You can look right through things.
Yes.
Bend steel bars?
Yes.
Like Superman.
He's my cousin.
Whoa.
Supergirl, sent to Earth on a secret mission that brings her face to face with diabolical villains.
I'm considering nothing less than world domination.
Unspeakable evil. And super action.
You've had your fun, Selena. The game is finished.
Starring Faye Dunaway,
Now I am really upset.
Peter O'Toole,
My neighbors know the criminals, the corrupt, the evil. They're here, over the hill there, with no way out.
Peter Cook,
What's in it for me?
Me.
Brenda Vaccaro, Mark McClure,
Hi, Jimmy Olsen, photographer.
Hart Buckner, and introducing Helen Slater as Supergirl.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio. With me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, friends.
Hello. It's amazing that we got to another year of doing this podcast. I look back at we're like a little over 200 now. Getting to 2023, these years are starting to not sound real. But yeah, I'm glad to be back, and I'm extra glad. We'll get to it in a second, but that Dan made the audible that he did, because this was a better choice.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know until we watch the other movie. But so it's 2023 now. It's our first episode in the year of our Lord 2023. And to kick us off was Dan's pick. Dan, I feel like you always get to pick the first one in the year, right? Having with RoboCop, right?
I think you're right.
You just always kick us off. So this year is no different, at least for the last 2 years, or 2 years that we remember. So why don't you tell us what movie you picked to start us off?
Would be my genuine pleasure, guys. As Mark alluded to, I had a choice, and it was going to be the 2004 Thomas Jane Punisher movie, right before Marvel became the juggernaut that it is. And then I just decided to call an audible. I didn't think it would really hold up, and I saw a review for Supergirl. So I said, you know what? That's what I'm going to go with. I've never seen Supergirl. I've heard good things about it. So I decided to go with the 1984 film Supergirl, with the tagline, "Her first great adventure," and it's her last great adventure because this movie sucked.
Okay. Yeah. So you haven't seen this before? This is your first attempt at Supergirl, huh?
Correct. Yeah, I'd seen just bits and pieces from other reviews, but I never got the full breadth of Supergirl.
Gotcha. Okay. Mark, where are you coming from with Supergirl?
So I haven't seen it before either. I had seen the Punisher movie before, so I had an opinion going in on that of not really liking that movie and thinking it was boring. So I thought giving this one a shot, and at least this one was sucked, as Dan said, yes, but it did give some moments where it had some entertaining spikes for stupid reasons in my head. But yeah, I like that Faye Dunaway was probably just trying to have fun, essentially. I don't think it was so much like trying. It was just like how extreme can I make this character, especially as it goes along in the movie. And I just like the fact that they had the reference. I should have wrote it down and kept track. How many times they mentioned that Superman is her cousin, because I think it comes up way more than it actually should. And to be honest, I think maybe it's just in my head from other Superman movies or series of movies or TV shows, but it seemed like anytime she mentioned like being the cousin of Clark Kent, or when she was Supergirl, cousin of Superman, there was really no huge reaction to it. I thought there would be a bigger one from Lucy Lane than there was. It was just like one or two lines and done. But I think a lot of it had to do with they didn't know what to do once they couldn't get Christopher Reeve for a cameo in it. So
apparently he backed out of filming.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like they had it all set up, and maybe they didn't have the chance to take a second run at it, without him or whatever.
But don't worry, because they got a poster of Christopher Reeves. So
yeah,
that's just as good.
It's almost like he's there.
Exactly.
That first scene with the rapist truckers, I would assume that after she picked him up by the jaw, that should have been the end of it. But for some reason, I guess they had to have them both get and played it a little too much for laughs, but it wasn't really that funny.
If this movie was made today, that scene happens at least 3 or 4 more times.
You think that superhero movie today with Supergirl is going to have an attempted gang rape scene?
She's going to get picked on way more than just that one time.
That's a little bit more than picked on, but
well, I mean, she's going to be, because it's like in Wonder Woman, was it 1983? I can't even 84. Anytime one of the female characters runs into a guy, they're always catcalling. So that would have happened in this movie, is what I'm saying, if it were made today.
So to a lesser extent, there wouldn't be there wouldn't be implied gang rape. It would be.
Yes. I'm not saying she's going to constantly get raped. I'm just saying everywhere she went, it would just be like, oh, hey, what's up, toots? Or, where are you going? And like, oh, man, like, why am I even on this planet? What's worth saving? They're not worth saving.
Yeah, because when Max Headroom gets the opportunity to explain himself, he says it's just who we are.
Oh, what a weird line of dialogue. What, I can't be a rapist? Come on.
It's what we do. We long haul truck and we rape.
Yes. Yeah, so but terrible. That's that's pretty much what it boils down to. That's what they're viewed as in this, in that kind of movie, I guess.
Yeah, it felt like they had like a couple nuggets of an idea for a story, but didn't have any competent writers to put it all together as a story, and maybe we're a little bit spoiled compared to what people got out of comic book movies in the 70s and 80s, in terms of, trying to make coherent stories. It wasn't just, ooh, that's the superhero on the screen. They're doing superhero things. Yay! 2 hours later.
I agree with you with the writing, because the guy who wrote this also wrote for the Muppet Show. Okay. So I feel like it was basically very childish, right? Like, because the Muppet Show was just very silly and corny jokes. Like, oh yeah, like these rapists are just rapists. So that's it. That's what they are.
Yeah, and it's just the whole movie, felt like it had like three different things going on. In the sense that you had the whole school thing. Maybe this is why Supergirl worked better as a series in general, because it got to delve into a lot of that stuff a little deeper. But there was like the stuff going on at the school. Then there was the Faye Dunaway stuff, and then there was the orb, because I keep forgetting the name of her character, but Faye Dunaway's Selena. She had something going on before the orb ever came to Earth.
She's a witch.
Yeah. And, it's essentially like, I don't know, they couldn't put it all together to make it, anymore. But then again, what was the threshold in 1984 to get a movie out that was probably just to sell toys or trying to go off the coattails of another franchise? But yeah, like I said, maybe we're just a little jealous, but yeah, movie pretty much sucked, but I you can see where it could have been better.
Now I'm curious, did they have a line of toys for the Supergirl tie-in with the movie?
It's the early 80s, so just my assumption.
Does not look like it.
Oh.
I think this was around the time of Infinite Crisis or something like that. So like Supergirl played heavily into that.
Infinite Earths?
Yeah, Crisis on Infinite Earths, where it kind of like retconned everything. So I wonder if, because there's the famous cover of Superman holding the dead Supergirl. So I'm assuming that played somewhat into this, or not saying that this was a tie-in, but maybe it helped the popularity a little bit. But I know this movie bombed.
Yes, it did. But as for me, I feel like I watched this a lot when I was a kid. I feel like it was like on a recorded VHS. But I couldn't tell you that I remembered any of the plot points, whatever, because I would have been like 3. But this movie is 2 hours long, and it feels all of that.
Yeah.
It drags so long that I don't even have finished notes for this. I have almost finished notes, but not quite complete. So we'll get to the end, and it'll be like, and then this happened. But it's not good. Dan, you said that writer was a writer for The Muppet Show. The more appropriate thing is to mention that he was also the writer on the Masters of the Universe movie.
There you go. Yeah.
Very much feels just like that movie. I feel like the plot is very similar too, right?
Yeah.
Don't they come to Earth looking for something that they've lost?
Yeah, MacGuffin, pretty much, right? They come looking for the MacGuffin, and then they have to learn the ways of Earth.
Yeah.
Which she picks up on pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, first of all, right off the bat, they fucked up her origin story real bad. Because the movie opens, she's on some like crystal palace. She lives in a crystal palace with Peter O'Toole.
Yes.
That's not that's not her origin story. Her origin story is she's also from Krypton, and she is sent to go look after Kal-El, Superman, and her rocket gets blown off course, and she arrives on Earth like decades later. So she's the same age, but Superman's grown up by now, and so they already screwed it up. I don't know why they had to veer off of the origin, because you did Superman's origin the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why, but it doesn't necessarily make this movie, not going by the source material. Once we had this conversation with Resident Evil, welcome to Raccoon City.
You just had to get it in there. You had to get it in there.
Could have just left it at Resident Evil.
Yeah, we would have known exactly what you were talking about.
But, not adhering to the source material doesn't necessarily make it a bad movie.
No. It was just a puzzling choice.
Yes, it's a choice, and it's a weird one. I will give you that. Yeah, there's a lot of choices in this movie. Mark, you say that Faye Dunaway was having fun with this, but if she did, she made sure that nobody else was having fun, because apparently she was a nightmare to have on set.
Yeah, I can see that. I just mainly meant she was just like, I guess, fun for her.
No, I know what you meant.
Okay.
She was hamming it up.
Yeah.
She was hamming it up, and nobody else had fun.
I read that they considered firing her.
Yeah.
Like they wanted her, to get Jane Fonda or something like that.
They threatened Jane Fonda to replace her.
Yeah. And then Jane Fonda said, "Fuck that! I'm not doing this."
I think she said she's turned down the role initially.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah.
She
Good
she
for
was
her.
she was too busy doing her exercise videos.
Yeah. Yeah. It's long. I didn't hate myself the entire time I was watching this, but on the whole I did, if
I
that
get
makes
you.
sense. There's a
You
lot
go
of
ahead.
there's a lot of wasted time with like now she's like going to school, which is just kind of stupid. And yeah,
I could have. Now we might be on different sides of this, Anne, but
probably.
I could have done with less of that guy falling in love with her,
Yes.
and more of her and Lucy Lane.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the old Superman serial with what's
George Reeves?
George Reeves, where it's like Superman, the stranger from a distant planet, and it's like this very epic sounding show. So as Anthony was saying, Supergirl spends a big chunk of this movie in an all girls school.
Yeah.
So I just kept thinking to myself, like, how would it sound with that big epic voiceover, like Supergirl, watch as she solves mathematic problems. Supergirl, she foils a bully's prank.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. It's just like it's really. Oh, you could have cut out half of the school plot.
Yeah. Even the fact that Nigel is her teacher does not come up in any way, shape, or form.
No. This movie has you asking the question why a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, there's so many moments in it where they could have done things but didn't do them and chose to do other things, and specifically meaning just because they probably couldn't get the actors and didn't want to recast them or whatever, just instead of having Nigel be her teacher at the school or whatever, maybe take that whole scene out with the math and have her meet Lois Lane. I don't know, just to kind of make it a little more connected.
Mark, they got Jimmy Olsen. What else do you want, man? Come on, don't get greedy.
Yeah. Can we also talk about the fact that Jimmy Olsen is 35, going out with a 17-year-old?
Well, it's 1984, Ant.
And
times.
Also Ethan falling in love with the schoolgirl?
Yeah.
Well, that was black magic.
Right. Sure.
And also, she's an alien. How do we know how old she is?
Right. But in all intents and purposes, he thinks she's 17.
15. Yes.
That's right. Which makes her just all the more hotter, I guess.
And he's hanging out at that school an awful lot, taking his shirt off, cutting down trees.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
He's quote unquote working.
Yeah. Don't exactly know what he does because then like when he shows up at the carnival house, what's he there for?
To ask her out on a date, right? To ask Supergirl out on a date.
Before that, when he gets the love potion.
Supergirl, the movie turns into a softcore porno almost because Selena kind of brings him in to fix the cable.
Right.
Like, why don't you come in and we'll get to know each other first? And she shows some leg. It's like, are they about to like fuck right now? What's going on here?
Yeah, this movie does get very close to almost nudity. We're jaded with these sexless comic book movies that we currently have, but there's like a shower scene for some reason and girls walking around in their bras.
Yeah. If Zack Snyder had his way with this movie, there'd be fucking.
Yeah. All set to Leonard Cohen's version of Hallelujah. The sexiest song ever.
Apparently a Christmas song as well.
Yes.
That's
total bullshit, by the way. But
this
movie, one of the things I was questioning myself with was the crux of the movie is Selena, Faye Dunaway's character, gets this magic orb that can grant wishes, and she wants to take over the world. But first, she needs to get herself a boy toy. Why?
Well, here's what I interpreted was I don't know. She said when the orb started lighting up, she said it was showing her that was her boy. Like, I don't know if she interpreted them talking about, Ethan, and then the orb lighting up as sort of a sign that's what she should be doing. I missed a segment where they said they were going out looking for guys, but
So the ball was trying to get her laid.
She thinks.
Okay. I think she was just horny.
Yeah, it might have been, and just was it confirmation bias or whatever, where she wanted to get laid. They were talking about this sexy guy, and the orb starts lighting up. And goes, well, that's the sign. Can't mean anything else.
Yeah, I don't know what else they were doing in that park other than trolling for ass, though.
Exactly.
I thought this was where Nigel being the teacher would have came into play. I thought she was like spying on him or trying to.
There's no evidence of doing anything but trolling for ass. She's like, yeah, she's looking to get fucked.
Yeah, she's behind her car is behind a school bus where all the girls are getting off and going to school, and she's just staring. Her and I think it's her sister. They're just
heterosexual life, mate.
They could be. They're just staring at the men working with no shirts on, and it's like, yeah, the friend or sister even sees Ethan first. It's like, oh, that's I saw him first. That's my guy. Like, no, fuck that. The ball says I'm gonna bang him.
That hunk of man.
That hunk of man. Yeah. So
very mid Harry Ellis from Die Hard.
Was this his villain origin story?
Maybe.
Yeah, it sends a really bad message where, Supergirl being a Kryptonian, her weakness is supposed to be kryptonite. No, it's Ethan. It's Ellis from Die Hard.
It all comes down to they're fighting over a man.
Exactly. That's what it is.
It epically fails the Bechdel test.
Does it?
No, because Supergirl befriends.
Oh yeah, no, this definitely passes because Lucy and Linda have conversations, and then Bianca and Selena have conversations. Yeah, it probably passes pretty well.
Yeah, it's but it just the overall message is no matter how powerful you are, ladies, you'll never be more powerful than the dick.
Yep,
you'll always be a slave to it.
To vitamin D.
Yeah, it's very upsetting because Supergirl is a good character. She's a pretty cool character, and I don't think Selena is a character in the DC continuity.
I think it took like 30 years from this movie for her to make an appearance in comics.
Gotcha.
If I read that correctly. Yeah. Yep. All about just getting laid, man. It's nothing more powerful than a very mediocre white man
who can't walk. And it just says, "Oh yeah. Oh yeah." He's a caveman.
Got no prospects.
No.
Barely holding down a job.
He dresses like shit.
He does dress like shit.
He wears like a velour suit at the end for some reason. Right? When he becomes Selena's boy toy, he's wearing a red velvet suit.
He's wearing those acid wash jeans with no belt. Weird.
And these Superman movies, I don't know what their problem was. They were terribly all right. So the original Richard Donner Superman the movie was a good movie for its time period, right?
Mm-hmm.
But everything after that was just kind of garbage. Like Superman didn't do anything, and it kind of comes over into Supergirl where she doesn't do anything. She stops a tractor and she doesn't even stop the tractor. She just rips off the
claw,
the claw, and then it proceeds to crash into a hotel with Lucy Lane still on it. So she doesn't even rescue Lucy Lane.
Lucy Lane is as much of a hero as she is.
Yeah, she actually tried to stop it.
Yeah, Lucy Lane, knowing she has no powers, steps in front of that bulldozer and tries to stop it.
And does a better job than Jeremy Renner.
Yep.
For all intents and purposes.
Yep.
Was that too dark? That might have been too dark.
No, it's fine. I like it.
He's alive.
So... He's alive for now. Yeah.
For now. Oh, don't do that.
Yeah. When he has to have his legs amputated by the time this episode comes out.
Well, then he could play Old Man Hawkeye because in Old Man Hawkeye he's missing a leg. So he's really committing to the character.
Committing to the bit, right?
Yeah.
That's what we love, right, Mark? Commit to the bit.
Correct.
we're suckers for it. I I also have written down here, be amazed as Supergirl fights nothing.
Oh yeah, she fights the wind.
Yeah, and almost loses.
She gets the shit kicked out of her by the wind.
I guess the budget ran out. Like, oh,
I think a lot of this is like, oh well, the budget. Well, it was $35 million. They did spend $1 million on that opening title sequence, though.
get out of here.
Nope.
Really? On the opening credits?
The opening credits, they spent $1 million.
Dear Lord.
Yeah.
Talk about misallocating your money.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty good looking title sequence. I'll say that. It looks expensive, but why you spent that kind of money on it is beyond me.
Yeah, wait. What was it that made it $1 million?
I don't know. It's just fancy looking, I suppose.
Okay, weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't spend it.
That's not my money.
I didn't say, oh, that's going to cost $1 million. Okay. But somebody did.
Somebody did, yeah. Totally worth it.
Yep. You guys got to trust me on this one. It's going to work.
It's that's what people come to see. The credits, the opening credits. We got to wow them. I will say, I thought the flying around scenes were, Supergirl flying. I thought it looked pretty good at times, and there were definitely times where it looks terrible.
I did like that at certain points she had no trust in the wire setup, as she was very clearly holding the wires.
Oh, sure.
As she was coming down.
Well, it's again, even the Superman movies were the same thing. When she's flying, her cape is like stapled to her sides. Her cape barely moves because that's where the wires are. So they're very limited, even with the $35 million budget, very limited in cape technology.
Yes.
I was a little upset that this movie really wasted a good hour of it just setting up Supergirl on Earth, where she's flying around like, oh, there's horses, and then, oh, there's a bunny. It's like we have to show Supergirl doing girly things, I guess.
Yeah.
It was just a huge, and this is something that Wonder Woman did really well. The first Wonder Woman, when she travels to Europe, and she's kind of they do the fish out of water storyline. But it's not, oh, let's have her do girly things, let's show her, like, oh, what, like people cooking or stuff, whatever it was that they thought only women could do. Like, no, like she was going around looking at all these incredible things, but no, Supergirl, oh, there's horses and there's a rabbit. So got to make sure you get that in there.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. Like they went with an unknown actress for this.
Oh, this was Helen Slater's first role, right?
First feature film role.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was her because I have seen The Legend of Billie Jean before.
There you go.
I thought she was okay.
I thought that was her first movie, but
I thought she was fine. Yeah.
She definitely has there are some line deliveries that aren't great. Like when she's fighting the wind, and she's like, halt, you will not go for any further.
Right.
Like, do not enter this area. Like, oof, okay. That's
yeah. But how do you say that convincingly?
Yeah. But again, that is something a Supergirl or Superman, I would expect them to say.
Yeah.
Like, halt, evildoer. Just like super corny. So I'm not judging harshly.
No, not at all. And she's got some face too. So good for her.
She looks great. Yeah, and I was looking at pictures of her today, and she's aged amazingly. She looks great.
Yeah, she's Stone Cold Fox.
Absolutely. What else has she been in? She's been in a lot of. Okay, so of course she had to make an appearance as Supergirl in the new Supergirl TV series.
Yes.
So she had Mad Men. There's a lot of TV, it looks like, right?
Yeah, does she play on Supergirl? Does she play the mother?
I believe she is.
Eliza Danvers, yeah.
Eliza Danvers. So who had Danvers first? The DC or MCU? Or Marvel, I mean.
So depending on when Supergirl came out, because when Supergirl came out, again, she lands on Earth and is adopted by the Danvers. So I'm gonna assume that it was Supergirl who had the Danvers first, because I think Supergirl came out before the female Captain Marvel, because there was a male Captain Marvel before Carol Danvers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they were clever by making the principal's last name Danvers? And
It was a nod to that.
Yeah, but probably just went over the head of the non-comic book fans that saw this movie.
Yeah, it was just like a little Easter egg. I think they did that with Thor as well. Because when Thor comes to Earth, he has an alias name, and it's like Doctor. I forget exactly what the name is, but when in the movie when he comes to Earth, they're trying to hide him. So Natalie Portman puts Doctor, and it's basically the name he was in the comics. So it's like it's a pointless nod to only the comic book fans who would know. Like, oh, you see, like we know the source material too, guys. We're one of you.
Right.
You guys eat that shit up.
We don't know it enough to actually make that her backstory. But
I don't understand. Maybe because they said, all right, well, people have seen Superman, so they already know that Clark, gets adopted by the Kents, and they raise him as a human. So like, we don't need to do that with Supergirl. We could just have her. They don't even explain how she gets the suit. She just arrives on Earth in the suit.
Yeah, she just gets it.
Yeah, we don't have time to explain this in a 2-hour movie.
And I guess the way they explain it is that she can change her outfits at will.
Right.
And
I'm guessing that she has seen her cousin as Superman, right? Because she knows he's Superman, that she knows he's Clark Kent.
I was going to ask, how? How does she know that?
Don't know.
Right?
I guess there's some scene, maybe Clark goes to visit her once. I don't know.
Yeah. I read that there was an hour of footage missing. I guess stuff that they shot and cut out. Mm-hmm. So maybe in that hour she finds out, she finds him by accident or something. Like, oh wow, that's
the director's cut of this is 3 hours.
Yeah, eat your heart out, Snyder.
Jesus.
Yeah, there supposedly. I don't know if it is actually, but
I know the one trivia.
20 minutes.
Yeah, the trivia that I saw said that originally she was going to save Superman from prison.
That would have been a better movie.
Which I don't know if that was going to be the whole movie, but I think the part where that would have happened is when they go to the Phantom Zone. Moment of the movie could have been she breaks him out of prison there, and he shows her how to get back to Earth.
Superman does, and not Peter O'Toole.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would have been a much better movie, but you can't do that, right? You can't emasculate Superman. Like, Superman being saved by a woman. Oh.
I wonder if that's why Christopher Reeve acted.
No, I can't imagine, right? For all I've heard, Christopher Reeves is a good dude. So I hope that's not the reason. It's probably just like a scheduling conflict.
I would think something like that.
You would never know. God, can you imagine Superman? Like, fuck that. I'm not getting rescued by a girl. Count me out.
Yeah.
He would have been applauded in the 80s. What are you talking about? No.
But yeah, and probably still today by some people.
I was looking up Helen Slater, and there's part where it says relatives. It says Christian Slater, but then it says parenthetical, not related.
Really? So why even bother to put that there?
That's great.
Yeah.
What? So, okay, fair enough.
So Supergirl from 1984 was directed by Janat Zark, who's also directed Jaws 2, Somewhere in Time, and Santa Claus: the movie. Stars Helen Slater, Faye Dunaway, Peter O'Toole, Mia Farrow, Brenda Vaccaro, Peter Cook, Hart Bachner, and Mark McClure. It was an IMDb score of 4.4 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 8%. Budget $35 million. Box office 14.3. Big old bath on that one.
That's bad.
Yeah, and I'm sure they had plans to make a series of this.
I mean the tagline, her first adventure.
First great adventure.
There was definitely planned to be a series.
I didn't pay attention all the way through the credits, but there wasn't a Supergirl will return, right?
That was pre these characters returning, really.
I don't believe so. But
God, can you imagine if this movie came out today and if it didn't do well?
Oof.
Like all of the fanboys. Oh God.
I mean, like probably not unlike the non-released Batgirl, right?
Yeah. I can't imagine the vitriol that would be going on.
This is what happens when you don't give Snyder his vision.
Exactly. 100%. But they fucked it up anyway. This was pre-Snyder's, and they already fucked up the origin story. So DC's been doing this for decades.
Yep.
That was my favorite Letterbox. The best. This is the best DCEU movie.
You
Well,
guys
I-
want to get... Okay.
I was gonna say real quick. I think they're introducing a new Supergirl soon, aren't they? In the movies.
I don't know.
And I think in the
God knows
Flash
what
movie.
James. God knows what James. God
No,
knows what he's
this is for the Flash movie. I think there's a new like an Elseworld Supergirl.
doing. Okay.
So we'll see how she's received. Maybe she'll get. Maybe it'll revitalize Supergirl in the movies.
You guys want to get into the plot?
Sure.
Dan, what do you got?
Okay, guys. So just want to say a quick shout out to our friends Brittany and Tia over at geekvibesnation.com. They have an excellent podcast called The Top 10 with Tia, and it's a weekly podcast where Tia and Brittany run down their top 10 list of the week. So please go visit them, rate and review them, give them a nice word. Again, that's geekvibesnation.com and Top 10 with Tia.
Okay, great. And we are going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Kenan
and Padawan J
from the ODPH podcast.
Each week, we talk a parlay of topics.
That's right. Whether it's sports, pro wrestling, movies, TV, comics, and more, we've got a take on it.
And don't forget odphpodcast.com for links for Patreon, TeePublic, and the Parlay Points blogs, and much more.
Thanks for listening to the ODPH podcast. Now back to your regularly scheduled show.
You know I don't know I was so damn hard to say.
Welcome, travelers. Seems like you're looking for a story. Well, I got one for you. It involves adventure, friendship, and all sorts of...
Earl, why don't you tell him about that time I stole that big-ass melon?
Yeah, I was going for more...
Or you could tell him about the time I kicked her ass, Earl.
I wouldn't ever tell them.
Do I need to get my ref gear on?
Okay, everyone, shut up. Now come with me as I tell you a story from afar. Hey everybody, my name's David. I'm the DM for From Afar Podcast. A From Afar Podcast is all about four friends separated by distance, but brought together by adventure. Hope you all stop by and give us a listen. Thanks.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into plot for Supergirl. And just a warning, I am going to say Omegahedron a lot.
Is that what the name of the orb is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I couldn't understand what they were saying. I just kept calling it the orb.
Yeah, that probably would have been better. We open on a very expensive looking title sequence. In fact, it cost $1 million.
Oh, Christ.
And when we come out of it, which is like 2 minutes long, we move on to some sort of crystal looking planet / city. It's weird. And Kara makes her way through the city until she runs into Peter O'Toole, who's got real here for the paycheck energy.
Yeah.
O'Toole's playing Zoltar, and he's some sort of scientist or mathematician in Argos City who is working on making a tree and also planning on leaving the city. But while Zoltar talks to Allura, Mia Farrow, about his plans to leave the city, Kara plays with his wand, not a euphemism, and draws a mosquito out of thin air. And then uses the power source, the Omegahedron, that Zoltar stole from the council to make the mosquito come to life, and then it runs straight into one of the walls of the city, causing a breach, which then sucks out the Omegahedron and almost Kara before Zoltar is able to seal the breach. Zoltar gets scolded by Kara's father about the fact he lost the Omegahedron, which basically powers the city. But Zoltar says that he could find it by using the binary chute. I don't know what that means.
Just nonsense words, man.
Yeah.
I could find the MacGuffin using the other MacGuffin.
Instead, Kara takes it upon herself for no reason and goes through the binary chute to find the Omegahedron.
I love how the descriptions for the movie says that she makes the choice to go after the thing, but they never, like, I guess that's what she does, but she never like states it. You know, She just gets in the thing and leaves.
Yeah, it's not like oh my god, I feel so bad that he's going to get punished for something I did.
Right.
Which that you could probably make that assumption that that's what is happening. It's just like, oh, the binary chute, I'm jumping in. That's really what happens. Sound effects and all.
Boop, yeah.
So
well, they use all the money on the opening scene, so the rest of the special effects it's shot.
The sound effects are just everybody. All the sound effects are just people making the noises with their mouths.
I would rather watch that.
Every time she's flying, Helen Slater's just like, shh.
Whoosh.
It's like what's her name, Laura Dern in Last Jedi doing pew pew with her mouth when she was shooting the gun.
That's what cinema should be now. Just let the actors do all the sound effects.
Oh, the Foley work.
Yep.
I don't know about you guys. I make sound effects every time I do something.
Sometimes I do, depending on what mood I'm in.
Yeah. You give a little yoink every now and then.
It's the best one. We need more yoinks.
Yoink. Zoltar then tells Kara's dad that he should be sent to the Phantom Zone for losing the Omegahedron. Meanwhile, Kara is now going through the last 40 minutes of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And the Omegahedron, once again, Jesus, how many times am I going to say it? Crash lands into a picnic lunch of Selena, Faye Dunaway, as she has lunch with some sort of suitor, who we'll eventually know as Nigel. And then it crashes into their food, and she immediately knows it's some sort of magic. So she says some magic words and then decides that she doesn't like Nigel anymore. So she uses the Omegahedron to hotwire the car and drives away. Kara eventually crash lands onto Earth and emerges from her binary chute and jumps out of the water in a Supergirl costume that she didn't have before. Then spends the better part of 5 minutes trying out her new flying abilities and flying around aimlessly amongst stock footage.
Why did she have to land in the water?
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know.
Couldn't you just land on Earth?
Yeah, I feel like I didn't even realize she was in the water. Also, she comes out of the water.
Yeah, it's pointless.
Very much so. Selena goes back to an abandoned amusement park that she lives in for some reason, along with her hetero life mate Bianca. Bianca is complaining that the city turned off the water once again because of its abandoned carnival, of course. But Selena says that her discovery is going to be the answer to their prayers, and they won't have to worry about the Nigels of the world or mortgages ever again.
This screamed of just, again, low budget. We can't afford like a really nice penthouse set or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just gonna have them in a fucking abandoned carnival.
It's it's kind of clever in terms of like having an interesting set piece, at least from an art direction standpoint.
It doesn't suit the character.
No, it's completely out of left field.
Yeah.
But what would it be? What would her interesting place?
To me, because she's so sophisticated, she drives around in like a Rolls Royce. So why is she not in like an estate?
That's fair,
right?
And maybe she's fallen on hard times.
I guess, right? Because they're turning off the electricity.
Yeah.
It kind of seemed as if they were playing off of Lex Luthor's first hideout.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember in the first Superman movie where his lair is?
I remember the pool.
Yeah, it's in like a subterranean, by the train tracks essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really strange. Who would think to look for a villain in the subway?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe it's the same thing. Who would think to look for the villain in the abandoned amusement park?
Yeah. Now I think Nigel does mention that she was basically like a 2-bit con artist though.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't he say something of if it wasn't for me, you'd still be reading palms or something like that? I feel like. So I wonder if that was she worked there at some point.
That would make sense then.
Yeah.
Yeah, if she was like a carny.
Yeah. She does not adhere to the Cardi code. That's for damn sure.
She definitely does not adhere to the Cardi code.
Kara eventually lands in the middle of America, surrounded by strip malls, as one does. And her first interaction with a human is a telling indoctrination of our patriarchal culture, as it immediately turns into an attempted gang rape by Max Headroom and some other guy playing truckers.
Did you notice, just real quick, when Kara lands on Earth, she picks a daisy. She uses her heat vision to make the daisy bloom or blossom. Mm-hmm. And then when she's confronted by the rapists, she uses her heat vision on the one trucker's knife. Why didn't the knife grow? Shouldn't the knife have gotten into a bigger knife?
I don't think knives grow through photosynthesis.
I thought her eye beams were growing powers now.
No.
I can make things grow.
So she immediately uses her breath powers and super strength to subdue the would-be rapists and flies away. Meanwhile, Selena is throwing a party at her carnival house and invited the partygoers from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Nigel is there giving her shit for being a boss-ass bitch. Nigel then tries to hit on a partygoer whom Selena decides to use her powers against to spin her around on her head, and she kicks Nigel out of the party. Again, that's not part of the Carney Code.
No.
That was an innocent woman.
It screamed of desperation there.
Yeah.
Like she was a little jealous.
She's friend zoning him, but she doesn't want him to move on.
Which that's not cool.
Yeah.
Can't do that. You've let him go. He's free to pursue other interests at this point.
Yeah, no.
I'm just happy that he wasn't hitting on any of the girls at the school.
Right? Yeah.
That made me happy.
So Nigel 1, Indiana Jones 0.
Well, now maybe I'm misremembering. Aren't the students hitting on him?
Yes, the one girl in the front, but isn't what's Karen Allen's name in the first one?
Oh yeah, she's
Marion.
Marion. Yeah. When
The
they first
whole
meet.
the whole backstory is that she was just a child when they first met. Her exact words.
Yeah. Ooh, that doesn't bode well for Indy.
There's also like a whole exchange, like a transcript of like George Lucas and Spielberg like hammering out the script. And like I feel like George Lucas keeps talking about how young she is, and Spielberg just like is trying to steer it more towards something that's a little more age appropriate.
No, she's got to be 14. Well, I don't know about that, George. Boy, that's upsetting.
Yeah. Kara wakes up in the woods, which is an interesting place to take a nap. She wakes up to find a girls' softball game going on, so she decides she likes the uniforms, I guess. So she decides to just enroll in boarding school. She just disguises herself with a uniform and changes her hair to brunette, which I don't know why you had to do that. No one's seen you yet. But I guess it's so she could jump in back and forth between the disguises.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of the budget went to the transition of clothing as she walks here.
It was pretty. It's for 1984, not bad.
Yeah, they did a real good job.
Yeah.
I like her disguise better than Clark Kent's.
Yeah, because she changes her hair from brown to brunette. Yeah.
Yeah. He just puts on a pair of glasses.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the terrible wig does make you think that that's not Helen Slater.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's much
who's
better.
this frumpy bitch?
But is she gives herself she's all that makeover when she turns into Supergirl?
It's the reverse. Yeah, it's the reverse. Never Been Kissed? No, not Never Been Kissed. This is the movie I can never remember the name of, and you just said it a second
She's
ago.
all that.
She's all that.
Yeah, she's all that. She does the reverse. She's all that.
All that. And then she disguises herself, changes her hair to brunette, and goes to meet with the headmaster. The headmaster says he doesn't have any info on her. No recommendation letter, no name, no nothing. She says her name is Linda Lee. Thank you, Robert E. Lee.
Oh yeah, when I saw that, I was, ooh,
what a weird picture to be having. Now I'm just thinking of a weird picture to have in the headmaster's office. Picture of Robert E. Lee just hanging up there. In Illinois.
Right? Yeah, I don't think there were any Confederates in Illinois.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Illinois was a Union state. No,
I think it was.
If it was around, I don't know where the borders were at that point. I guess, no. It would have been Union because that's where Lincoln came from. What am I saying?
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, it entered the Union on December 3rd, 1818. So
if you're the director or if you're the writer, don't you think you would look at that and like, do we really want our heroine to be named after a slave owner?
I mean, nowadays, yes. 1980s, they weren't thinking about that, I guess.
That's true.
And when Nigel walks in, whom apparently is a teacher at the school, he pulls the headmaster out of the room long enough for Kara to speed write up a recommendation letter from her cousin Clark Kent and stash it into his file and cabinet. So everything seems to be in order, so he immediately ushers her off to her new room. Almost walks into girls changing. She winds up getting roomed with Lucy Lane, Lois Lane's sister. And they get along well immediately. And Lucy has a picture of Superman on the wall, which Kara finds to be mesmerizing, and her cousin looking all heroic-like. Meanwhile, Selena and her hetero life mate Bianca are in the park trolling for some strange when they both spot a shirtless Harry Ellis from Die Hard as he does some sort of landscaping. And the women both fall in love with him, and the Omega Hedron starts lighting up, so Selena starts to get an idea that she wants this dude.
I was very excited when I realized Ellis is in this movie. And then I got really upset when I saw how he acts in this movie.
Yeah, it's not great.
No, it's very one-dimensional.
Yeah. Kara and Lucy go to class, which is taught by Nigel. Kara accidentally answers a question that should be impossible to answer using four-dimensional geometry, as she says. Nigel starts to get suspicious, and it never comes up. What was the question she answered?
It was basically what is the formula? Like, what's the answer to this formula? And it's like 5,200,000 blah blah blah.
Gotcha.
And then like everyone laughs.
Mm-hmm.
Right, all the classmates laugh. Like, what's so funny about that? Oh, it's a big number. It's funny.
Yeah,
she said a big number, guys.
It's funny because it's bigger than a normal number.
It's bigger than a normal number. Well, and then Lucy says, "Oh, you don't go around acting smart. People aren't going to like you if you're smart."
It's true.
Really? I
Oh,
guess
it's like the '80s. nerds.
Stuck
You don't want to
up
be. You don't
bitch
be.
thinks too good for us.
Yeah, you don't want to be a nerd, Dan.
I suppose.
Teacher's pet.
But it plays no. It has nothing to do with the movie. It's a Supergirl movie. It's not a nerd movie.
Kara also joins the field hockey team with Lucy, and Lucy continues to get picked on by some of the other girls.
Now, this begs the question, Adam. Do they have field hockey on Krypton? Because I have no idea how she would learn how to play field hockey.
Yeah, it's a stupid game. I hope they don't have it on Krypton.
I'm sure I would get shit for this. But you're just hitting the ball with a stick.
Yeah. I
Kind
mean,
of going up and down.
We didn't really necessarily see her play it well.
Yeah,
she doesn't do anything.
She could have been running up and down the field like an idiot.
I'm having fun doing this. What is this game you call it? Field hockey. Oh, fantastic. And then just constantly running up and down.
Yeah, she's like a savant at that, but she can't put on a bra.
Yeah. It's not that I guess they're free balling it and it's not Krypton. Where are they now?
Argo City.
Argo City. They let them hang, man.
Swing low, sweet chariots.
Free the net.
It only brings credence to George Lucas, who said, that women don't wear underwear in space.
Sure.
I think you have to in space because of the gravitational pull, right? It's like you kind of have to.
I don't know, Dan.
Unless Argo City has its own kind of weird gravitational like anomaly.
Well, Argo it does. They walk on the ground like it's normal.
Sure,
yeah,
okay, so maybe you don't need to wear a bra there.
Right.
Yeah, Argo City is an inner space.
Right.
Saturn and Earth are in outer space.
Inner space, yeah. So we don't. But they talk about anomalies and singularities. So But I wonder what the gravitational pull is like in the Phantom Zone. Because she can't fly there. She can't really jump.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it's a little heavier. I don't know.
I have no idea.
We need to find who was the original writer for Supergirl. Was it Otto Binder or Al Plastino? I don't know for sure, but we should find out. In space, do they need to wear bra and like underwear and stuff like that? This is the real question.
These are the hard-hitting questions that we only ask on this show.
Yeah, that we need to know that.
Yeah. They trip Lucy on purpose and then hit the ball straight at her head, but Kara stops in front of the ball and it explodes against her back. Then in the showers, those same girls attempt to burn all the girls in the shower by turning off the cold water, but Kara is able to turn the tables on them and makes the hot water spray at those other girls.
And it seems like it seems like no one likes those girls. So how are they the bullies?
I don't know.
Well, again, that's the last we see of those two girls.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this scene is completely pointless.
That storyline is over.
Yeah, it doesn't endear Kara to anyone else other than Lucy, I think. And Lucy doesn't know that she did that.
Right.
So pointless. Again.
Yeah, it's got to be like a story where like all these girls are like afraid of these girls who like run the school, right?
Right.
Like Nelson Muntz, basically.
Exactly.
And then like Kara stands up to them in a noticeable way. Like in the cafeteria, someone trips Lucy, she spills all her shit. So then Kara's like, "Hey, that's not nice," and they fight in some sort of way. And
right.
Everybody's like, "Yeah," or like Ralphie in Christmas Story.
Christmas Story. Yeah.
Basically, he beats up Scott Farkas, and then everybody else isn't afraid of Scott Farkas anymore.
Right. Like, oh, like watch out for the twins. They're bad news. They run this joint. And Kara's like, oh, they don't seem that scary to me. And she just basically thwarts all of their stupid plans.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, like, this would have been great if they fully committed to like Supergirl just kind of like helping all of these girls get from under the yoke of the evil bullies. Like one of them goes to punch Kara in the face, and it just like it does like the Terminator, right, where they punch her and she just doesn't even move really.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh my hand, what happened? Well, you're a weirdo," and they just run away.
I'd watch a Supergirl movie version of House Bunny.
Sure. Right. When
Yeah.
she teaches the other girls in the school to kind of stick up for themselves.
Yeah.
Right. But you don't need to be afraid of the Henderson twins.
Like a small story like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you could even throw in like maybe like a little supernatural thing at the end where the culmination is, Supergirl has to fight this weird entity, but the entity's power or like the weakness is friendship or some stupid shit.
Right.
So like all of the girls band together to help Kara out. She's getting beaten up.
Right, because Nigel is their teacher who's practicing dark arts after class, right? And he accidentally like turns the school mascot statue into a sentient thing that starts to terrorize the school or something. I'm picturing like a giant bull statue or something.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. And it's like, Supergirl's trying to fight it, but she's weak against magic, which is canon. Kryptonians are weak against magic. So she's trying to fight this magic bull, and she's losing. And Lucy and some of the other girls kind of like maybe they do some research, like, oh, the bull is weak against the power of love. So we have to all band together and join hands, and we have to chant this thing, and we'll save Kara. That'd be so much better than just her fighting the air.
We would have fucking owned Hollywood in the 80s, man. We're doing all this every week. We come in with a better idea than the movie we watched, and no cocaine involved at all.
Yeah, we could have definitely convinced. We could have convinced some coked up producers in the 80s.
100%.
Such a better version of this movie.
And I'm telling you, we would have had the DCEU fucking humming. All right, like a well-oiled machine.
Would have sold so many toys they wouldn't be able to keep count.
Kevin Feige would be coming to us. Like, how do you guys do it? How did you pull this off? We're good. We know our shit, man.
Mm-hmm. Later, Lucy tries to get Kara to go home with her for the long weekend. Lucy is supposed to go on a date with Jimmy Olsen and should be able to scrounge up a friend for Kara. Kara says she's staying behind, but she agrees to meet up with Lucy at Popeyes. Selena, meanwhile, invites...
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. We're going to Popeyes.
It's another moment where I'm like realizing how old Popeyes is.
Sure.
Because it's very new to like at least my Philadelphia area. And then you see it was like in this, and it's in Gleaming the Cube, or no, it's the other skateboard movie. It's the one that they Thrashing. Yeah, it's where they pants the guy in the parking lot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a Popeyes too, and it's one of those things where I guess that was it like a West Coast Southern thing in the 80s, because it seems to be popping up in these movies a lot more frequently than I probably recognized.
Mm-hmm. Founded in 1972 in Arabia, Louisiana. There you go. Selena, meanwhile. Okay.
I was gonna say, I think this movie was basically brought to us by Popeyes and A&W root beer.
Yeah. It's definitely A&W root beer.
When Supergirl is fighting the wind monster and she gets thrown into the vending machine, the A&W vending machine, I said out loud, "Not the A&W vending machine." Oh no. Where will they get their delicious A&W root beer now?
This perfectly lit up to date A&W root beer vending machine in this dilapidated carnival.
You gotta have it.
Selena, meanwhile, invites Ethan Ellis from Die Hard over to her carnival house to do some work on it. She's cooked up a love potion that will make whoever drinks it fall in love with the first person they see. So Ethan comes in and they talk, and then she poisons him with the love potion and he passes out. Nigel comes to the door and Selena has to talk to him. But in that moment, Ethan wakes up and stumbles through the haunted house without seeing Selena. Nigel tells Selena that she won't be able to use the Omegahedron to its full potential until she internalizes the power. Then he calls her an amateur, so she gives him skin lesions and then shuts the door in his face.
So is he a warlock? because he seems to know a bit more about this stuff than they let on. Is that one of the parts of the hour of lost footage is just explaining Nigel's backstory?
I don't know what he is.
I think he's just like them. I guess if you want to make the distinction that he's a male witch and that makes him a warlock. But I mean, he's the one that bamps Ethan back from the secluded beach. So he knows dark magic.
Yeah, because he has that like weird totem at the end.
Yeah, that like brush thing.
Yeah, it's vaguely racist, I think.
Isn't everything?
I guess, right? Because it really looks like a shaman's brush or something like that, right? It has feathers on it. I'm like, oh, I don't know about this one.
Yeah, I
Seems
mean,
a little off.
there's a couple moments in this that wouldn't pass the 2022 release test. They drop an R word in there at one point. The girl dressed up as a Native American.
Oh, that's
in
right.
the opening party, and just the way Jimmy Olsen talks about the guy stumbling in the street.
Oh yeah,
which we're getting to, but yeah. There's a lot of things that make you go, oh yeah, this was made in the 80s.
After Nigel leaves, she realizes that Ethan is gone, so she uses the Omegahedron to use its magic to see where he went in her mirror. And she realizes the Omegahedron has grown in size. And it winds up that Ethan is just walking aimlessly in the middle of the street like a junkie, not far from where Kara goes to meet up with Lucy and Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen, as we should mention, is clearly carrying on a relationship with an underage girl. They meet up. They see Ethan walking around, but Jimmy just says he must be on some sort of drugs. So they all go inside to Popeyes for lunch. But as they do, Selena starts using the device to bring Ethan to her. So the orb winds up taking control of the bulldozer, which snatches up Ethan and starts taking him very slowly down the street.
I laughed out loud when the bulldozer broke through the wooden fence. I was just like, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
They're very slowly getting away.
It's like maximum overdrive.
Oh boy, yes.
Lucy jumps in the cabin to try and stop the bulldozer, but she gets knocked out. Chaos ensues as the dozer continues out the street, running into buildings, causing fires. Kara springs into action as Supergirl, putting out the fire by putting a hole in a water tank, pulls the claw off with Ethan inside, and brings him to safety. Then goes back into her Linda disguise and opens the claw to let Ethan out, and Ethan looks at her and instantly falls in love. Once again, an adult man falling in love with a teenager.
I was watching this with Jen, and I looked at her, and I said, what if the first person he sees is like a little kid? Wouldn't he fall in love with a little kid then?
So there's entirely too much time between the time he leaves the amusement park and the time he sees Kara.
He would have seen someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. He sees a lot of people, I think.
Like, he keeps his eyes closed for most of it, and that's just kind of like a fucking cheat.
Yeah, that's silly.
Yeah.
And immediately that's committing to a bit.
Big time.
And immediately he tries to kiss her, but she doesn't know what kissing is, so she says she has to leave.
Smart.
Yeah,
and then they have
danger.
Yeah, they have Lucy see this occur, but it never comes up again, from as far as I can remember.
Lucy sees it?
Yeah, she wakes up from the inside the thing as they're kissing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And they purposely show that happening, but it never comes up again.
Yeah. Selena watches this all through her magic mirror and gets pissed off and wants to seek revenge against this unknown underage girl that stole her man. She doesn't realize that Kara and Linda are one and the same. So she cooks up another spell to send what she calls her shadow after Linda. Back at school, while Kara is practicing kissing in the mirror, a storm picks up, which is Selena's shadow monster. Kara turns into Supergirl and goes to fight this wind and lightning monster, and she gets her butt whooped until she grabs a lamppost and flies into the sky to use the lamppost as a lightning rod to charge it up and use it to shoot lightning at the invisible monster until it vanishes.
It's not how light posts work, but sure.
Kara returns to the dorm as Supergirl and gets scolded by her dorm mother, and then goes to get changed back into her Kara disguise. Back at the dorm, Kara's bracelet starts to glow, which means that the Omegahedron is close. She starts to follow where it takes, telling her to go, and it brings her to the amusement park. As she's about to go into the funhouse, Ethan shows up, completely in love with her, with chocolates and flowers. They talk a bit, and Ethan falls more and more in love with her every moment. But then Selena shows up and makes a teacup ride they were sitting in go really fast. When it comes to a stop, only Ethan is on the ride. And Kara shows up in full Supergirl costume to put a stop to Selena. Selena starts acting like Doctor Strange and becomes multiple Selenas. All the while, she sends Ethan on a wild ride on the bumper cars.
That was my favorite visual effect of this movie. Was the multiple Selenas.
There you go.
It confounds Supergirl too when it's very clear who the real Selena is. The one that's not corporeal, or that is corporeal. It's like you could see through the other ones. The real Selena is the one you cannot see through.
Classic Doctor Strange move. This is just basically Doctor Strange: The Multiverse and Madness. Comes down to it. This is Doctor Strange versus Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, it's pretty close, right?
Yeah. Kara manages to trap Selena in a prison of bars and safely pulls Ethan's bumper car away to safety. Then she takes him on a trip through all kinds of stock footage until she lands on a tropical beach. And while Ethan and Kara talk, a flying coconut comes in and knocks him out, which is lucky because it should have crushed his skull.
And it's Selena's powers, right? It's her magic.
Yeah.
God, what a waste of magic.
Knock him out with a coconut.
Yeah. You should be an assassin. Like an assassin for hire. I can kill someone anywhere on the earth using my magic.
Yeah. This buys Selena some time, and she calls on Nigel to help her against Supergirl. Nigel does his own sort of magic and is able to blink Ethan back from the beach just as he and Kara were about to kiss. Ethan winds up shackled to the bed. Selena pretends to show her gratitude to Nigel by kissing him, then steals his weird magic stick, then uses it to materialize herself a mountain fortress right in the middle of Midvale.
And that would have been the perfect time to use yoink.
Yoink.
Right? She's kissing him, and then just all of a sudden, yoink. I got your wand. You're not that wand. The other wand.
Not a euphemism.
Yeah.
Kara flies all the way back to Midvale and up the mountain to try and rescue Ethan, but she's trapped in one of those vortexes from Superman 2 and gets sent to the Phantom Zone. Back at Midvale, Lucy leads a protest against Selena, who has crowned herself Princess of Earth. Selena realizes that Kara and Linda are the same person. So
there is a chunk of time in this movie that is just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone picks up on it real quick. They get wind. And why does she crown herself princess? Why not queen?
Who knows? So she takes Lucy and Jimmy Olsen prisoner along with Nigel in some cages in her fortress as Ethan is turned into his mindless sex slave. Sex is assumed. In the Phantom Zone, Kara wanders around without her powers until she falls into a weird pool of muck and passes out. She's picked up and taken to safety by Zoltar, whose mental health could be better.
Just a little bit.
Squirt. Squirt. That's all he says, right? He's like, have a squirt. Like, oh, that's creepy.
Yeah. And he's resigned himself to an eternity in the Phantom Zone. Kara says that she will not stay and tries to get Zoltar to get the will to fight for his life. And he says that there is one way out of the Phantom Zone through the vortex, but they only have one shot at it. Either they get through or they die. Meanwhile, Selena and Bianca are watching all of this on their magic mirror. And this is where my notes end. But basically what happens now is Zoltar and Kara try and go through the vortex. And it's difficult, but then he pushes her up and he pulls a bing bong from inside out and lets her get out without him. And he falls into the vortex, but she manages to escape. Then she goes to the fortress. They fight with what's her name? Selena. Then she conjures up a huge Baphomet kind of creature. And there's a lot of fighting. And eventually she just basically gets trapped in her own mirror, right?
Yeah, more or less. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Some bad special effects go on. There's a weird puppet.
Yeah, there's a puppet, and then like Supergirl gets really small and spins around her, I didn't think that was a spell, a power of hers. And then she just winds up in the mirror.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
And there's like, oh, bye guys, I'm going back to my home planet with the Omega Hedron because otherwise my family will die. Here I've been just spending weeks at school.
I completely forgot that was the whole point of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, now Argo City is underwater.
Is it?
Yeah, she flies into the lake where she first arrived, and the ice pyramid or the ice town, Argo, it's there. She flies into. Yeah, I don't know how it got there.
Maybe that's where the binary chute is, because that's where she came out of. So she's got to. Yeah. It's like she's got to go get the binary chute.
Oh, okay. Because it looked like the city, but yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, but that's basically the end of Supergirl.
Who cares at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah, I was with it for an hour and 40 minutes, and then the last 20 minutes, as I do.
My favorite part of that ending is when they're all up in the balls on the ceiling, and then she has like the fire spikes, and then all she does is freeze them and break them, and then the balls drop anyway and they escape.
Yeah, one wrong move and I'll drop your friends. Like, oh, well, I'm Supergirl. I can move faster than you can, so I'm gonna do whatever I want.
It was the lamest threat of all time.
Yeah.
That's Supergirl. So we are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to have one more segment after this, and we'll be right back. But first, you guys are going to listen to some ads, so you can pay those bills. We will be right back. And welcome back now. It's time for our last segment. And this one is going to be a team effort, guys. I have here a list of the 10 worst superhero movies of all time, according to Rotten Tomatoes, as of April 3rd, 2022. So, your task is to name the 10. And I will say, most of these are what you would think, but there are, let's say, 3 where you have to think outside the box a little bit.
Okay.
So this is not comic book movies. These are superhero movies.
Oh, okay. But are some of them comic book movies?
Most of them are comic book movies.
Okay, gotcha.
Dan got a little nervous there for a second.
Well, is this based off of box office or ratings?
This is Rotten Tomato score.
Okay. Oof.
Are we starting?
Yep.
Okay. Can I just say the weird one from the list that we got mad about? It's RoboCop. No, I know. Now, first one for a weird one. Hopefully, this is one of those 3. Meteor Man.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Not Meteor Man. No.
I would have guessed that too. Spawn?
Spawn's not here. I will say, just check.
What about like the first Captain America movie? Not the Marvel, like the MCU one, but the one where he wears like the helmet. Like
Right.
Is that on there?
Nope. The one with J.D. Salinger's kid as
Yes.
Captain America. Nope.
Yes. Okay.
Is it the Corman Fantastic Four?
No Corman Fantastic Four.
Wow.
I will
Steel.
say not Steel. I will say only 3 of these were made before 2000.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Blade Trinity.
Nope, not Blade Trinity.
Wow. That movie was terrible.
Thor: The Dark World?
No, they're okay. So I don't believe there is an MCU proper in this.
Okay.
list.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's also not a DCE proper in this list.
Okay. That other.
So they were made. Only 3 of them were made prior to 2003. You said 2004.
2000. But I think also 2003 would also be accurate.
Okay.
Now, when you say no MCU, I'm assuming that Marvel isn't not included in that, and I could say the Ang Lee Hulk movie.
So that would be accurate, but that is not in there.
Okay.
Wow, these are all shit movies.
I only really guessed that to sort of feel that out.
Okay. I'll give a hint. Dan, we've seen one of these together in theaters.
Okay. Is Supergirl on there?
Supergirl is on there.
Okay. All right.
Number 6.
I was going to leave that one to last.
What about Superman 4?
Superman 4 is there.
Okay.
Number 9, 10%.
Ooh, wow.
So we only have one more pre-2000.
So you and I have seen one of these movies. So okay. Trying to think of
in theaters.
Man, what superhero movie have you and I seen?
I will say it's also a comic book movie.
Okay. But not superhero necessarily.
Not in the way you would think.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say a superhero.
Okay. Mark, you have any guesses?
Is it Thomas Jane's Punisher?
No.
I thought that'd be pretty funny.
What about the other Punisher? The
Dolph Lundgren one?
Yeah, that or Warzone.
Nope.
Damn.
This is pretty good, Ant.
Yeah, this is. I know what it is, Ant. I know exactly what it is. Jonah Hex.
Jonah Hex, number 10, 12%.
Ooh, damn. Is Fan Four Stick one of them?
Fan Four Stick is one of them.
Ooh.
Yep. Nice. Number 4 with 9%.
There we go. We're starting to chip away. Dan.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. All right. Let's see. What else?
There's one obvious one.
One obvious one.
Is it the sequel to that Fantastic Four movie?
No.
No.
Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
Catwoman?
Catwoman is there.
Yeah, Halle Berry. Yeah.
Number
I think
5.
that's the obvious one, right?
Yep, that was the one I was thinking. Number 5 at 9%.
Okay. So we got half the list, right? Or
I think about that, yeah.
Yeah.
One of them is a stretch of the meaning of a superhero, and it's a sequel to a comedy.
Sequel to a comedy.
And it was made in 2005.
Can you give us who was in it, or would that give it away?
I think it would give it away.
Okay.
Sequel to a comedy.
Yeah. The original was mid-90s, and the sequel did not feature the same actor from the original.
Didn't feature the same actor. All right, so it's a comic book movie.
Is it
but
a
it's
comic book? It's that's a good question. I guess it was a comic book. Yes, it was. It's a comic book movie.
Is would the Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles count?
That would count. That was a comic book.
It was a comic book. It was there are superheroes, but it is not on the list.
Okay.
Oh, that was a good guess, Mark.
Thank you.
Oh, what about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3?
Nope. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles not on the list. Not in the top 10.
Oh, not at all. Okay.
Yeah, I think
not in the worst 10.
No, that was later. I was going to say I thought we got all the pre-2000s.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
You have one left.
Yeah, I realized the Catwoman was later
Mm-hmm.
than I.
The last one, kind of a stretch for superhero. I guess it's not really a stretch of a superhero, but it is from 96. But it's not your standard kind of superhero idea.
It's not Mystery Men.
No.
Oh, that's a good guess too. Whatchamacallit was a comic book. Like The Crow, right? That was a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
So but The Crow did pretty well, I thought.
Right.
The sequel is The Crow 2. Is that?
That's it. Crow City of Angels.
Yeah.
Oh.
8th on the list.
I didn't know that.
11%.
I honestly didn't know that had a sequel. I thought that was the video game City of Angels.
No.
Shit. Okay. Good job, Mark. That was I did not know about that. All right. So
we have one that is a spin-off of another movie.
All right, so I'm thinking, is it spin-off? Because my initial thought was either going to be like a Ghost Rider or Daredevil, but you're saying spin-off.
Yeah.
Can I guess the spin-off, Ant?
Sure.
Elektra?
That's it.
Nice. Yeah.
You gave that to me, Dan. That was an alley-oop.
What?
7 with 11%.
Yeah, you said Daredevil, and that put the pieces together.
Because I'm rattling off in my head these early 2000s comic book movies. So I know Daredevil didn't do well. I know the first Ghost Rider did okay. But now the comedy one.
Yeah,
that's so like Blank Man.
So you have 7 left. You have 3 left. You've gotten 7 right. These 3 that you have left are the ones that aren't your standard what you would think of when it comes to superhero movies. So as we have the comedy that I was talking about, then we have like a family comedy movie that is probably not a comic. Is not a comic book movie, but is a superhero movie. They have an original title.
Ooh, Howard the Duck.
No.
Wow.
Not a
Jeez.
comic book.
Okay.
It's a family movie.
Oh, but I was thinking of the one from that wasn't in the 90s. Howard the Duck was the 80s, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
technically, I think The Mask was a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
So the Jamie Kennedy one.
Son of the Mask, number 3.
Oh, that doesn't count.
6%.
I was going to let you get to, Dan. Let you.
Because I remember, and the Mask comic book's not even like a comedy. He's a murderer.
Right.
He's like, it's super bloody.
Yeah.
Smoking.
I don't know if he says smoking in the comic book.
I'm gonna edit that out.
Man.
I don't know if you guys are gonna get these last 2. One of them stars Tim Allen.
That's the family one, right?
Yep.
No clue.
And the number 1, which has a 0%, I don't even know what to tell you. I don't even remember this movie.
Like Thunderbirds or something like that is that's not a comic book.
No. This is again. These are
These are
superheroes,
not comic books. These two
not
are
necessarily comic books.
Okay, yeah. I keep getting caught up on the comic.
Yeah.
I think
I said Blank Man. Did you hear?
Yeah, it's
okay. That's not it. I like
2006. Tim Allen and Courtney Cox. I think Spencer Breslin.
Sky High?
On the right track, but it's not Sky High.
That's Kurt Russell, right?
Yeah.
Sky High is actually a decent movie.
Shark Boy and Lava Girl 3D.
No. I'm gonna give you these last two.
There's nothing you can give us about the 0% one.
I don't even remember this. Maria Bello.
No clue.
Yeah. Zoom was number 2. That's the one with Tim Allen. It's like a family film. It's like a family of superheroes. I think Kate Mara's in it. That has a 4%. Number 1.
She shows up twice on this list.
Yeah. Number 1. I do not remember this movie at all. It's called Max Steel from 2016.
Max Steel?
Yep.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Nope.
Who's in that?
Maria Bello.
Oh, Maria Bello. Okay.
I'm not looking at IMDb. Otherwise, I'd tell you a longer list of names. But that's the only person that they name in the article.
It's Andy Garcia's in it. It looks like the two main guys is Ben Winchell.
Yeah, I remember looking at it before, and I didn't know anybody.
Yeah, that one eludes me. I wouldn't have, in a million years. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
The Adventures of it's kind of like the Iron Giant, maybe. Teenager Max McGrath and his alien companion Steel.
For a second, I thought you were going to say Max Headroom. Like, that's not a comic or a superhero.
All right. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got for this.
Interesting.
Yeah. I was going to do a recast, but that's boring.
Boring. Yeah, I'm glad that we changed up the film for this.
Yeah, I do too. Because those 2000s movies, they're always just kind of like boringly bad.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't really offer up a lot.
Yeah, this one at least had Faye Dunaway pissing off everybody and just
getting under everyone's skin.
And that's going to wrap us up this week. Check us out on our socials, TickDamnPod on Instagram and Twitter. They Call This Movie on TikTok. Want to hit us up, give us a 5-star review on wherever you get your podcast. That would be amazing and help us out a great deal. And what more to say? Nothing really. The director of Supergirl is Janat Zark. Maybe I'm saying that right. No idea. But for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Andy Devecchio telling Janat Zark, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Call This a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TickTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Call This a Movie.